Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Digital Asset has been very active in the tokenization space, working with financial institutions like Goldman Sachs and Clearstream in Germany, among others. Eric Saraniecki, co-founder and head of strategic initiatives at Digital Asset, joins me to discuss why there is strong interest in tokenization and digital assets. Eric, it's great to meet with you. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Hi, Jill. Thanks for having me.
You got it. And let's start with clarifying what you mean by tokenization and digital assets. Why is there strong interest in the technology?
I think it's tempting, and a lot of people often will think and hear this word and then assume that it means that we're actually digitizing things that are paper, but that's something that's existed for decades. The real opportunity here is to bring these assets into an interconnected system or network, because that increases the utility of the asset. I can use it as collateral. It has higher velocity. Something can get used as money. And parties like Clearstream and Goldman, they're improving their existing processes. Issuances are going from days to seconds or minutes, but they're also looking at how to connect this into a bigger ecosystem. That bond that gets issued, how does it get reused in other markets?
So what's happening in the market? What impact has the extended crypto winter had on the industry? And what are your thoughts on the events of 2022?
Well, I've been in crypto long enough to know this is maybe the 10th or 12th time this has happened, but the way that I like to think about this is I've heard an analogy recently about comparing the existing crypto networks to Napster or early torrents. And I really like this. I think it's really instructive. If you think about early digital streaming content, a lot of this was driven by the torrents, and the demand was really established by things like Napster. But they were unsafe to use. They were legally murky as to how you could participate. And then the industry came along. They partnered with people that could provide safe, scalable solutions to the end investor. And that's what eventually won. Napster didn't go away. The torrents haven't gone away, but these other ways of delivering and using the technology have come to market. And frankly, I think up until now, the industry has been led by a lot of hype and cliche. And this emperor has no clothes moment is really forcing people to take a step back and think about why they're entering this system. And that step back is yielding much better use cases and more thoughtful implementation. So, just like any negative downturn, it's forcing some thoughts that are going to improve the net outcome for everybody.
So then what are the opportunities?
I generally categorize this into three: short, medium, and long term. In the short term, you can build a system that enables a real-time, high-integrity shared system of record across all the participants. So that leads to the eradication of reconciliation. Me and my participants, we can fix our problem today. The medium term is then I can start to connect that system to other systems. Think connecting a bond issuance platform to a repo platform. And long term, that radically transforms the way that we do business. We don't think about this a lot, but there's a natural latency to all these cross-system communications that exist in our system today that prevent all sorts of business models. So I can't predict exactly what's going to happen long term. Say we couldn't predict what would happen in all these internet businesses, but powered by stronger infrastructure, new ways of doing business will emerge.
And what are the challenges and pitfalls to avoid?
You have to be really careful. You absolutely cannot lift and shift into this technology. Blockchains replace messaging, reconciliation, operational processes, everything internal and external that kind of coordinates that system. You have to change those processes accordingly to benefit from the technology. So you can't just go, what do I do today? How do I do that in a blockchain? You need to think about what is your role in a new system. And you also can't do it in a bubble. You have to plan to be part of a bigger ecosystem. What does your role entail as you're more than just a silo controller and you're part of something bigger than just your four walls?
What's needed for the market participants to realize full benefits of tokenization?
It's actually interesting. I think this is more of a gating issue than anything but privacy and control. We've seen some regulatory comments come out recently about being able to fulfill your duties as a financial institution by participating in these networks. And in our opinion, it starts with privacy and control. Participants need fine-grained ability to determine who can see what data and who can control what assets. Without it, you can't even meet your regulatory requirements, let alone capture their benefits. So it's more of a gating issue. And what we see is a lot of kind of stalled on start attempts to get in here as people realize that a lot of the technologies that they've chosen don't give them these capabilities.
What advice can you give to a financial institution or exchange provider looking to get started with tokenization?
I generally encourage people to start on something relatively greenfield. You build something that is designed around your new processes. You have more degrees of freedom. You can design those to take advantage of the technology. And then as those processes become the new normal, you can start to migrate some of the things out of the old into the new. I think there's a tendency to try to start with something that's already well known, but you should look for something slightly adjacent, not something totally greenfield that you don't know if it's going to be successful or if it has value to the market, but also not something completely buried under years of legacy workflows and processes.
And finally, Eric, any final thoughts on continued adoption and outlook for tokenization?
Yeah, I think it's tempting to call the market dead, just as the market likes to call crypto dead every couple of years. The market is definitely at an inflection point, and this is happening. As the use cases start to connect, you're going to really see a tremendous tailwind. So we've seen a lot of these anchor customers come to market already. We hear about these individual platforms like Deutsche Börse or Clearstream and Goldman Sachs. But once we start to connect these things together, that's when I believe you're going to see a mass adoption at the participant level. And I would say that if you're looking for the bare minimum way to participate, rather than running a POC or doing your own sort of use case, if you're looking for a simple way to start to get a sense of what it's going to mean, reach out to one of the existing applications in production, take a node, connect to the application, and just that entry-level process has great ROI for both the application operator and the application participant. So it's coming, prepare for it, and there are some easy ways to get into this ecosystem and start to look and play and touch without having to take on the burden of building a full application.
All right, Erica, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you very much.